How are you?
Okay.
Somebody got to be here from ASA.
All right. Well,
No, he's just presenting the information.
Kids decided they wanted spaghetti for
Here's
dinner.
what we did.
And all the tomato based stuff makes the acid, like causes that pain.
Mhm.
I was like, really?
But what I told him tonight was you just present the information.
But I always do
They have all-
zucchini noodles, so that helps me a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, since it started.
I was like, I don't think they want to see me cry. In the meeting.
So. Where's that email at? Yeah,
what's that?
I'm looking for the policy. Where's
Oh.
that?
Was an email, right?
Yeah. Oh, policy here. Oh, shit. Oh, no. I got a text from her earlier. She was reviewing policies. See if she's
Running late.
running late.
Scared David's walking in with a knife.
Oh.
Oh. Such a technical piece of equipment there.
Scissors.
That's how I fix stuff at home.
Walks off and carry a bigger hammer.
Oh, policy there. Did you find it?
Yes, thank you. Jen said she was running a little bit late, but she'll be here soon.
Call the special meeting of the USD 261 Board of Education to order. We have one thing on the agenda tonight at this time. The USD 261 public hearing to consider policy on open enrollment will begin. As a part of this hearing, USD 261 Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Jeff Hirsch, will present the proposed policy, followed by questions from the Board of Education members. At the conclusion of the board's questions on the policy, any USD 261 patron who wishes to speak about the policy may be given up to 3 minutes to address the Board of Education. The input of USD 261 patrons will be taken into consideration prior to the Board of Education adoption of the policy. Mr. Hirsch.
Thank you. Well, the purpose for tonight's meeting is required by state law is the Board of Education of each school district across Kansas is required to host a public hearing that allows patrons the opportunity to provide input on the proposed policy addressing open enrollment. As you can recall, this was passed in the 21 legislative session. There were some amendments that took place in 22 or 23, and then it needed to be implemented by January 1 of 24, policy adopted. So I'm going to walk you through that tonight. I've also sent you a copy of the policy, the draft policy that the district would like for the board to consider. So what we'll do is I'll go through the policy, give you a chance at the end to ask any questions that you might have or for clarification. Then we'll see if any patrons would like to address the board regarding the policy. I'm not asking that you approve the policy tonight. There is a resolution that will need to be read if the board does elect to adopt this policy, and that will be done in the month of December. So again, first read. So let's start with just real quick. This policy is required by law and verbatim, Kansas law requires the board to allow non-resident students to enroll in and attend the school of the district if the board's capacity determination finds there are open seats for such students. So that's what the law requires. And that is the first portion of your policy. So it outlines specifically why we are doing what we're doing. I will note for the record that USD 261 did have a out-of-district enrollment process that had been used by the district for many, many years, was successful. This process is different than the one we've used in our district in the past. But again, part of the law that we move forward with this. So first of all, let's talk about what is a non-resident student. And I think you have this if you need it on your computers as well. It's easier for you to see. That means any student who is enrolled in an attendance at or seeking to enroll in a tennis school located in a district where each student is not a resident. So right now, if you do not reside in USD261 school district, not the city of Haysville, but school district, that you would, and you come to our district, you would be considered at that point a non-resident student. As I presented to you last month in our enrollment, right now we have approximately 400 out of district that we brought in this year, and about 100, and I think as I recall, about 120 ballpark staff who bring their kids into the district through limited open enrollment. So right around 500 total, a little bit above. So what do we have to do to determine capacity? First of all, the superintendent designee has a responsibility for studying the capacity in each school in the school district and at each grade level within each school for making recommendations to the board regarding the district's capacity to accept non-resident students. So tonight, I am not going to make a recommendation to you that we adopt 27, at the first grade, second. That will come prior to May 1st. Tonight's process is the beginning of adopting a policy. So this outlines what we have to do. So what does that look like? First, we will look at student-teacher ratios in our current classrooms. Next, we'll look at projected enrollment. The good thing about this, we just finished a demographic study and it kind of gave us some projections for the next 10 years. So it helps us in that aspect. And then finally, what is the maximum capacity of our classrooms? One of the things you have to consider is space. How much room can a kindergarten classroom at Oakville, how many kids can they hold? We can put a number on there, but if the physical space doesn't allow for it, then that's obviously not what we want for students. So that is how we are going to determine that K-8 capacity and make a recommendation to you. I want to point out, because this is important, when we get to the point of making a recommendation to the board, say for instance, in first grade, we're going to set the class number at 21, just as an example. That does not mean the district will consider hiring a teacher at number 21. That means that's the number that we feel that we can take within our own district. If we're under that, we can take students. If we're over, we will not take students. So we will set a number, and that number will be arrived at through a lot of study. And we'll talk about that process here in a minute. What about grade 9 through 12? So at that level, again, student-teacher ratio, enrollment shifts, anticipated demand for courses. I will tell you the secondary level is going to be much more difficult than the K-8 level. I think really than the K-5 level. And then maximum capacity of the classroom. Again, all facilities you want to look at, or all factors you want to look at, but that's what's required. And the state law specifically says this is what you will look at when considering this. So what is our timeline? On or before May 1st of 2024, I will make a recommendation to the board as to what we believe the student-teacher ratio for each grade level and every building will be. So we'll start with Nelson Elementary, kindergarten, 10 kids in a classroom. Again, just throwing numbers out. None of these are studied or anything else. And you will have that for every grade level, every building in our district. That will take some time. Next, before June 1st, we have to publish that number on our website. So we will have a place that says open enrollment and here's the numbers that we have. And that will outline specifically what that means. Then from June 1st through June 30th, we will accept applications for anybody who goes on our website. So yes.
Are those dates for everybody in the state?
Yes.
Okay.
These are mandated dates.
Gotcha.
Good question. So from June 1st through June 30th, we will accept applications from non-resident students. Next, once we do that, we will have some decisions to make. So let's start with, if the number of applications is below the number of seats available, you take them. So if you were to say there's 20 in a classroom at Nelson in first grade, and we have 15, we're automatically taking 5 kids at that building. That's the way it works. Okay,
But you take them if they meet the criteria of acceptance.
the first year with the exception of being under an expulsion, there are no exceptions. It's the second year when you cannot ask them to return that the exceptions take place. And I'll go into those here in a minute, Greg, but right now, the first year, as long as you have space and they meet your criteria, then you take them. You don't have much say in it. Whereas today, we can make that decision based on academics, attendance, discipline. Under this law, that changes. If the number of applications is greater than the number of seats available, okay, shall randomly select non-resident students using a lottery process. So we will create a lottery process and identify students at that time who would be able to come. This process has to be completed on or before July 15th. These dates are annual dates. This isn't just for this year, it's annually. These are the dates unless the law changes. The only exception is if you go down to the next bullet, shall provide to a parent of a student who is a non-resident who was not accepted, we have to tell them why we didn't accept them. You have to notify them and say, Mr. Ryan, I'm calling to let you know you applied for out of district enrollment in third grade and our third grade's full, so we don't have space. Yes.
Are there any exceptions, or how does this process work if you've got multiple kids in the family at different buildings, different classrooms? Is there something built in for?
Yes, there is. And
Okay.
we'll get to that here in just a
Okay.
minute. So again, if they're not accepted, the district has to tell them why they were not accepted. So we'll have to create something to do that. And that will be more work, obviously, for somebody. It's going to have to do that. Okay, priority is given, going back to your question, Kelly. Here is when priority is given. Any sibling of a non-resident student who was accepted to enroll in and attend school in the district with priority given when the non-resident student is first accepted. So as I read that, Craig has 4 kids and we accept his first one. Okay, so his first kid's going to come to us. The other 3 did apply as well. They get priority over other students because we've already accepted them. Where I'm not sure yet, we have to get clarification from our attorney is that they're over the number in that level, do we have to take them? And I'm not sure on that yet, so we're still working through that. Okay, any resident who or non-resident who's a military student is also given first priority in accepting of applications. Exempt students, there are always students who are exempt. First of all, any student who is in DCF custody. You're in DCF custody and you're placed in a home in our district, or this is their home district, then you will allow that student to attend. Next, I want you to take a really close look at this one because I think this can be a little deceiving at face value. And that is any non-resident student who has a parent or person acting as a parent employed by the district while the parent or person acting as a parent remains employed by the district. So that tells me once you leave, your child may need to go back into the lottery, but it kind of contradicts itself because later in the policy, it states once you're here, you're here. So we need some clarification on that. Yeah, Greg?
When you started your presentation, you said to hold our questions, but we've been asking. Can we keep asking questions as you go? Okay. Hey, it pays.
started that.
I learned. I listened one time. Back to when you said age and grade level, you mentioned that there'll be less spots opportunity possibly in high school. Whenever we advertise or however we promote this, can we say that, tell the audience that there's going to be 30 spots in K through 5 and so many to give people an idea, you know, that they could be turned down or they need to apply at more than one district or whatever, because it seems to me that everyone's going to think, okay, there's 5,000 spots or whatever. Is that part? How do we let people know of the competition?
So if you go back to, let's see here.
Isn't that what you publish on the website?
Yeah, so basically what we have to publish on our website, it will say Freeman Elementary School, kindergarten, X number, the capacity of a kindergarten class is 15 kids, say. First grade, 16 kids. Second grade, 16 kids. Then,
Was it part of this policy? I must have missed
yeah,
that
it's in
part.
there. Yeah.
Okay,
So then what happens is anything short of that, they're automatically in. They get in. You have to take them. You don't have a choice the first year. After the first year, you have some options and we'll talk about that. Yes.
hypothetically,
Uh-huh.
say this individual student lives in Augusta.
Uh-huh.
Do we have to go pick them up on a bus?
Nope. We'll talk about transportation here in a minute.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll get there.
there's a mileage
So-
limitation. Okay.
So, well, there are some potential caveats there, but overall, the answer is no in general, but there's always an exception. So again, military students and children of non-residents who are accepted will be given priority. Exempt students are students who are under DCF custody. So if you're in foster care or temporary placement in our district and you're in DCF care, then they most certainly have that priority or exempt from this. Parents employed by the district. This is one that they originally didn't put in the law. They invented it last year to add this because it wasn't originally in. And then any child who's experienced homelessness. McKinney-Vento is what the law is on. It covers students who are identified as homeless through the McKinney-Vento program. And they're exempt, quite honestly, from everything, which they should be in those situations. So those are exempt students. So if they fit into one of those categories, they're exempt from the process. Next. Here are things you cannot do. We cannot charge any tuition or fees for this group of kids that we don't charge for our kids who live in district. So if we charge $100 enrollment fee for first grade, say, then we can charge that group $100 enrollment fee for first grade. But we can't charge the group $100 because they're out of district and we don't charge our kids anything. Okay? Same thing would apply for all your programs, everything else. You can't charge them more. You can charge what the district charges everybody else. And then, of course, you cannot deny student residence based on any of the following protected groups. I'll give you just a second to take a look at that. So in other words, if you have a student who is low and maybe is in special education, you can't deny it based on their special education. Obviously, that's discriminatory. Aptitude or athletic ability. If they don't run a 4.340, we can't keep them out. So those are provisions that do not allow or things you cannot do. Transportation is not required to provide transportation to non-resident students unless it's something that applies through 504 special education. And the conversations we have had, Angie and I, and it's hard to get a really, right now, it's hard to get a firm answer from anybody, is if you accept a student who has special transportation as a part of their IEP, does the district have to provide it? Angie, have you heard any updates on that? I haven't either. So that might be a scenario where you do have to provide transportation. One of the things I know it's happened before in another district I was in as part of a cooperative is one district transported them to the district line and then the other district picked them up and took them to their school and vice versa. So again, unless they're 504 or an IEP, you do not have to provide transportation to them.
So distance for us transporting doesn't make any difference. The student wants to bring themselves, the parents do, from Augusta here, they can.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a
Absolutely.
factor for them.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. But we don't have to.
Okay.
Now, where you get into the gray area, and there always is McKinney-Vento kids, students who qualify as homeless, because under that law, they have a right to attend their home district, and the home district does have to provide transportation. That's in federal law. You don't have a choice. Like I said, special education 504 scenarios, either one of those could apply as well. So unless those are in play, we're not required. Now, if you go to the next one, if space is available, the district may assign non-resident students an in-district bus op to and from which transportation may be provided by the district for non-resident students. So I think what you could do in this situation, and we've done this before in our district, is so you have a student that lives at Broadway and Lincoln, and they go to, say, Nelson. You could bring them to the farthest bus pickup north of our end of our district. And if there's space on that bus, they could get on that bus and ride from there. We wouldn't go to their home, but they could go to a bus stop. And we have that happening now in our district. If there's space on the bus, they allow them to ride there. And And then obviously any student who is identified as homeless is their needs are met through McKinney-Vento and the law, and we would do what we have to do there, obviously. So that's what transportation looks like. Yeah, Doc.
On the section 504 kids, this may be an Angie question. Do you have a sense of how many kids we currently serve that need that transportation? Angie?
504s.
Huh?
With 504s.
Yeah, the kids that have that on their 504 and we have to do their transportation. How many do we have currently? And I'm sorry, I threw this at you.
In district or out of district?
Or out of district,
So
in district now, but we're serving them with transportation.
I'm not aware that we're serving any 504 students with transportation. Special education will be different.
we did have one 504 student, but I think they removed the transportation piece of that student.
So right now,
but-
we don't have anybody, but that
That
could
I'm
be
aware of.
come into play. Okay.
But we have lots of students with special education, special transportation.
Gotcha.
So going back to your question, Greg, what does transportation look like? It's pretty much what we're doing currently through our limited open enrollment program. Okay, the other things that are impacted by this policy that presented tonight is you still have to meet the CASHA guidelines. So this is going to be a piece that I believe can cause a lot of heartburn for families who don't make legitimate moves, who bounce school. One year they go to another school and so forth. That's not our issue. That is a CASHA issue. And our athletics directors will address those as those come up. That's the best example I can give there, but they're not exempt following the same guidelines as they would when this policy wasn't in place. They still have to meet the same guidelines. I have to report annually to KSDE how many students that we take and how many we deny. So we'll have to report that. This is another one. Once you take a student, they are yours until they want to leave. You don't have the authority to say, we don't want you back next year unless you meet a certain criteria, and I'll show you what those are. So you are considered a student in good standing. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that this next year we take Craig as a student. And let's say at semester, Craig's attendance is terrible. He's here 50% of the time. Your old policy, you could ask Craig not to come back. Our new policy, you have to wait out the year before you can take any kind of action. So they are in for the entire year unless they meet long-term suspension or expulsion. So let's talk about it. They have to maintain a 90% attendance rate, which is good. So if they drop below 90%, we can say, you broke the student in good standing. Therefore, we're not going to ask you to come back next year or allow you to come back. The parent provides false or fraudulent information. This is good to have. The student is no longer a resident of Kansas. And sometimes you think, oh, why would that happen? Well, I can tell you with your virtual program, sometimes that does occur. They move out of state and it does make sense to allow them to finish. But if they move out of state, then, or you get somebody who moves to Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma's 20, 30 minutes away. You're going to move to Oklahoma and they want to drive back and forth. If they don't live in the state anymore, you can no longer have them attend. The student is currently under a period of suspension or expulsion from any school district in Kansas, and that will not expire until after the next school year has begun. So Jillian expels a kid in January. Okay, no longer allowed to attend till January of 25. That kid applies in Goddard, Mays, Derby. They can deny that kid coming. We can deny him coming to us from another district for expulsion.
But if we expel someone for whatever reason, absenteeism, there's still the negotiation or mediation or arbitration if they want to oppose it.
They can, but this gives us the authority to move forward. We can move forward with that. But we don't have to have any kind of, to notify them by a certain date, and I'll cover that here in just a moment.
Okay.
Let them know. So the other one is anybody who has 3 or more out of school suspensions, with the exception of something that's determined to be a manifestation through SPED or something that is part of a 504 plan. Again, there's always exceptions. So if a kid gets suspended 3 times, they don't live in your district, they're not SPED or have a 504, at that point you can say the next year you're not eligible to return. The next area is if Jillian, as the hearing officer, expels or gives a long-term suspension or expulsion to a student, which a long-term suspension is more than 10 days, less than 90, an expulsion is more than 90, less than 186. That's or up 90 to 186. So in that scenario, in the current school year, they're not eligible to return next year. Okay. We have to set a date for notification. The policy, as you will see, I put in there May 15th. I talked to our attorney in length about a lot of this because there's some factors right now that are in play that they're going to have to correct. I don't want to get in the weeds tonight, but the current policy, the way it's written, does not allow district students who are out of district students who are here currently to remain here. However, our attorney has advised that we go ahead and allow them because they're working behind the scenes to change that law. So just a little bit about that. So we would have to notify in Craig's scenario, if his attendance dropped below 90%, we would have to notify Craig's family before May 15th, saying you're not allowed to return next year for this reason. Then the next year, you as a board will be asked again in May, by May of 25 to set the enrollment numbers for the next year. So this is an ongoing process. So what are the next steps? As part of the hearing today, we will ask when we're done, I'll ask Tom to ask if we have anybody in the audience who wants to provide input on this topic. Then you have to approve a policy by December 31st. It has to be in place by January 1 of 24. So we will bring to you next month the policy to be and ask for approval. Okay. After the policy is formed, we are going to put together a committee. I'd ask for a couple of board members to sit on this committee. Myself, assistant superintendents, building principals, and our facilities staff. And we're going to have to go through every classroom in this district, every grade level, and set capacity. That's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time. So second semester, we will start that committee, and I want input from the board on that. We want input from principals, want input from our facilities in regards to how many do they think they can hold. That's huge. I will tell you right now, I think the answer for kindergarten, because kindergarten is unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get in kindergarten because you don't have an ongoing number. More than likely, my recommendation will be that number will be very low because, again, you want those numbers to be low to begin with. And if you say put 20 and your normal size right now is 12 to 13, which is pretty close, you're going to increase that quite a bit. And I think for a kindergarten classroom, that's too many. Whereas fourth, fifth grade, you may set it at 25, 26, 21, whatever that number may be. But we'll ask for this committee to provide feedback on that. And in April, March and April, we will present to the board what our recommendation is, and the board will provide feedback and either accept or not accept the recommendation, make suggestions for changes. And then this policy goes back to, has to be posted by May 1st and on your website, open enrollment from June 1 through June 30th. So in a nutshell, that's the policy. So what questions or comments, concerns does anybody have in regards to anything that was presented or maybe something that I didn't present?
When you're looking at the capacity, how are you going to determine? I mean, is it based on square footage of the room and what the fire marshal says each room can hold? Or like, what are we? I mean, do we have those numbers already?
My understanding, Jen said back prior to the pandemic that BJ and Clint did a study of the district and has those numbers already. I don't know. I haven't talked to BJ since I got that out last week. So I did tell him that we were going to put this committee together. BJ and Freddie will be a part of that committee.
Yeah.
But I think there's many factors, one of which is class size. The other one is right now, what is an acceptable class size for a classroom? The other thing to consider is you're down 230 students, which long-term is significant additional dollars to the district. That's something that has to come into play. At one time, this district was around 5,700 kids, ballpark. Right now, we're at 5,100 and some change. So again, when you look at bringing students in, there's going to be a balance of what can we handle and maximize to get the most funding we can get. Because I told you last month, based on our student enrollment, next year's funding, unless the legislature increases the base, will be flat. If the legislature increases the base by $300, then you will see a slight increase in monies. Not like we did this year, but you'll see some new monies. So that's going to be a big factor. And like we talked about last month too, the Attorney General's office asked the Supreme Court to no longer oversee it. So there's just a lot of political factors in play that we have no control over. So we're going to have to just monitor it through the spring. But I think the key thought here, if I'm somebody in the audience listening, I'm a teacher listening, I'm a principal listening, thinking about class sizes, is because you post 14 in a kindergarten class doesn't mean we're going to hire a teacher at 14. That's not what it's about. It's what we think the capacity is of that room, or whatever the case may be. Like I said, kindergarten's going to be low based on it's unpredictable in your numbers. So this year, I think what did we drop this year, Jen? Do you recall in kindergarten numbers? Or did we stay flat from last year?
I would say we dropped.
I was thinking we did. I don't have it off the top of my head.
I don't know the exact number.
Did that answer your question for you? Does anybody else have a question? Right.
Page 4 talks about any child who is experiencing homelessness shall be permitted to enroll school district of origin. Is there a criteria, a standard for homelessness?
Yes.
The state? Okay, there is one. Okay.
Federal guidelines. Actually, this is
Okay.
It's federally mandated, federally, oversight by the federal government, and that's what Linda Long oversees. And I tell you, Linda is really good at what she does. And I will tell you, technically, if a kid is in Augusta living with grandmother, and their home school is Haysville, technically we would have to go to Haysville or to Augusta to pick them up every day and bring them. If that's what's determines in the best interest of this child, and that's what the family and the school district agreed to. If it's determined that they're better off to go to that home district and both sides agree and you can work through that, then obviously that's a better case scenario for a kid instead of riding a bus for an hour one way every day.
Again, the variable could be we could have a full class in kindergarten. The student is homeless. We would add one more. Okay.
Yep. And DCF as well. Those are your two military. Yes, Doctor.
This is a Craig question. What is this gonna do to trying to put together a budget? I'm sorry to drop this little gem on you, but this is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It's the budget to me.
I've been paying attention as we go through this. But it really comes down to where we set those numbers. So for me, I'm anxious to see that. I wish we could speed up the process a little bit. Then I could get in front of it a little bit more. However, I feel confident with the process and what we have in place with trying to find the numbers of each of those class sizes. And from my standpoint, I don't know what the strategy should be for all of those. I know more students equals more money for the district, but that's not always the best case scenario. So I think it just depends on what we come to that. I mean, right now it's up in the air on how to budget for that. So.
But like, you don't know, like, once we determine those sizes, do you go ahead and budget, like, you're gonna fill every single one of those spaces?
I don't think we can quite do
Yeah,
that.
that's fair.
I think we need to look at what's going on around us as well in other districts, because if you have other districts that are setting their number way low and they're not going to allow kids in, we may get more kids from that area coming to us if we set our number higher. But it just depends if we're higher or lower and where everybody else is around us. So it really is a variable. We're juggling the balls right now and trying to figure out where they're going to fall.
Do we know the level of interest of out of district students to come to our district?
We would be able to pull numbers of applicants from the past years to kind of get an idea. But as far as what the predictions, when Jen brought up a really good point, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. When she said, what happens when I apply Goddard, Mays, Andover, Derby, Mulvane, and I get a call from Goddard saying, you can come here, and I get a call from Mays saying, you can come here in Derby, and that family has to choose. I mean, you're sitting there waiting. So, I mean, that's something that most certainly, I guarantee is gonna happen. You're gonna have kids that are gonna apply in multiple districts.
But doesn't it say in that policy they had to decide that by June 1 is when they had to?
They have to, as I understand that we have to open our enrollment by June 1 through June 30th.
Okay, so May 1st was, here's what we're setting, here's what we
Yes,
think we
that's
can
your
take.
Capacity.
June 1, we open, but then it stays open
for June
until
30th.
June 30th.
And as I recall, we have to let them know, I think I put it in July 15th, if I remember correctly, is the date that we have to
Yeah,
let
let them
families
know.
know if
Yeah.
they're not coming. Yes.
Speaking of July 15th notification, our notification letter, is it, I'll use the term non-negotiable. If we say, yes, we accept your student, yes, they have to go to Rex, but they come back and say, no, we want our student to go to Nelson. Do we still have that legal authority
The
to?
district determines which building the student attends.
Okay, so
Yep.
that's still good. Okay.
Yes.
That was my next question, was how do we determine the school? Because when they apply, it's just to the district.
Yes.
And
they're
we
not
take
applying
that
to us.
information and we say, we are putting you at this school.
Right.
Okay.
We're not, they don't have any more choice than a resident student on which school they attend. It's where we have space. So that's where it's really critical that you match that number with where we currently are and what we project to be. And you saw at our elementary levels this year, when I presented the cohort groups, elementaries, every elementary dropped, their cohort group dropped. So that's, again, those are factors that we're gonna have to come up with that we don't know the answer to right now, I'll be honest with you.
Birth rates are dropping, so.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look good for the future because birth rates keep going down.
You can recall last spring, I sent you a graph of the United States and enrollments in public education and by state. I believe by the year 2030, Kansas was predicted to have dropped by 9%, based strictly on birth rate.
But then you
So,
have other
public
factors in there.
education.
You have other facters in there too, vouchers or
Oh, yeah, there's a
things
lot
that
of
will
difference.
also
Yeah.
perpetuate that issue.
So by that date, 9% decrease in enrollment. And as we shared in our demographic study, we as a district are shown to be flat, maybe dropping even a little bit in 10 years. I mean, we're like this, but eventually, I mean, when you pull all the data, you're talking within 50 to 100 kids, we are flat as a district. So these are all factors you have to take into consideration. But obviously, we have to make sure that we have space and we have staff. The area that we haven't talked about either is special education. You think about how hard it is to get a PBS teacher, a structured learning teacher, FAA teacher, you can't find them. We're still trying to figure out if legally you can limit number of enrollment in those programs. Because if you put it at 10 and you have 10 kids, that's what your teacher can handle. But if you bring students in and you bring another 10 in, you've got to go find a teacher or your class sizes are going to be very, very large in a program where they need to be very small. So we can't get an answer on that one from the state or our attorney. We've just asked John to advise on that. So
If we have multiple students in an elementary, the family's got like 3 kids that are in elementary school, we can't guarantee that they'll all be in the same school, can we?
that was one of the things we talked about. You may be able to get in, but you may not be at the same school.
So the kids may be in 3 different schools.
Yeah, potentially,
That may make them say on second thought, I don't want to go there.
but potentially that could happen. Yes. All the law says is you have to give those kids preference when you let them, if they've been accepted to accept their siblings. But again, we determine the building that they're placed at. So. Okay, I want to make sure you have time to answer questions from any audience members who are here to speak about the policy. Is there any other Greg?
You mentioned Cation. I have concern about sports and athletics, recruiting. I know what goes on now.
Sure.
NIL that they allow in Texas and Oklahoma. Is Cation really considering, or are we considering the impact of recruiting students for sports, athletics and other things? The impact on that, have they considered that?
Well, I think that's always a question.
Correct.
Always is a question. I don't know if this gives you the right to go recruit them because you're not guaranteed they're gonna get in, for one thing. So I could go to Greg, who's a really good wrestler, and say, Greg, I'd like for you to come to campus and wrestle for us. Oh, great, love to. We've got this open enrollment policy. You apply, but you may not get in. There's not space, your name's not drawn through the lottery, so there's really no guarantee unless you physically move into the district that you're gonna be able to do that.
Who oversees the lottery? Is it an outside entity?
No, we do it
or-
as a district.
So it's self-reporting?
Yes.
So somebody could, per se, cheat the lottery and
Sure,
bring
yeah,
in
there's
students.
voice. But again, remember, the policy allows if you provide fraudulent information,
Mhm.
that's a reason not to bring them back.
Right.
So there is a caveat in there to address.
No, I mean, if the district is abusing.
Oh, yeah. In the district, the process has to, is quote, has to be
Right.
confidential.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna end my part of this. That way, if we have any patrons who want to address the board as you consider the policy, so I'll get it back to you then. Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Are there any patrons here that wish to speak on the policy, open enrollment? Anyone at all? Don't y'all jump up at one time and say, pick me now. Yes,
How does that affect staff, students? So staff members who have students coming to the district.
what
but-
affect them? If
Doesn't
you've already-
affect
if you're a staff member and your students are coming,
It's still a benefit of working for the district, so you're good.
But ma'am, I will point this out so you read it for yourself. You can interpret it because your guess is as good as mine. I'm gonna
It's weird.
let you interpret what the law says.
Weird.
I know, I can't either. All right, second bulletin, it says any non-resident student who has a parent or parent person acting as a parent employed by the district, while the parent or person acting as a parent remains employed by the district. So I think you could read that as if you leave and no longer employed, your child is no longer eligible, they'd have to go apply to the lottery.
Right.
But the law also says once you accept the kid, your continuous enrollment, they stay. So it's conflicting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's conflicting. So that's where we'll get lawyers to tell us this is what you have to do. Yeah, good question.
any other questions from our patrons?
Was that the same question you had, Mercedes?
It was,
Okay.
yeah, she got.
Anything else? We'll close this meeting.
Well, before you close, if I could just. So again, we will bring the policy back next month. If you have any feedback that you want us to consider, please email me that. And I'll run it by our attorney. Our attorney did advise to adopt the policy as presented by KSB. So, because we did look at changing factors of things that may cause a student not to be able to come back, and he advised not to because it's in compliance with the law.
Do you have a question? You said that John, our attorney, is still working on some things, or there are folks working on things beyond. Are we at the point where if we adopt this policy, then we're gonna have to come back and do something else or not? Or do we know?
Well, I will tell you this, I would say there's always that possibility, but the key is you adopt the policy by January 1, which you will have done in December. Then if it changes, we can always amend it,
Okay.
but we'll have to adopt it and have it on file by the January 1 of 24. But I will tell you, there's a lot of things in the behind the scenes right now that are happening in regards to currently people who are in the district as an out of district student under the current law. And I don't want to get into the weeds because it'll cause more questions and confusion, I think, among people listening and don't want to do that. So they are working with the legislature, as I understand that, to try to fix it. That's all. I'm sorry. That's all I have.
Now,
Thank you for answering that question earlier.
I'm sorry. Yes.
we'll close this meeting and we'll be back in about 18 minutes. Thank you for your participation.
Sure. Hey, come on up, Greg.
Tomorrow.
We'll start the meeting here in just a minute.
Hi, Vince. How are you?
Yeah.
You're sending out.
That's
And I never want.
Yes. Crazy. I'm gonna write a letter that says do better.
Intermediary when I went to. That's if it's a street.
That's what that thing's called.
Tell them.
Sure.
On Greg's head.
He'll turn it over to
At
you.
this point, I'm like,
Greg. Greg. Yep, Greg.
So as soon as that clock up there.
He said he's got to hit the gavel on someone's head.
He'll hit the gavel,
I nominate
and then we start. Okay, and remember after you pledge and your cheer, he'll ask you to introduce. Great. Oh, can you remember your name? Lucy. That's great, Lucy.
I remember yours. I remember yours. Mr. Gideon, I remember yours.
No, I'm eating.
Oh. Oh, shit.
See what you started?
Yeah, it's my fault. Came from the rafters.
Parents, come on. There's plenty of room if you want over here or wherever you want to go. Come on in.
Yeah, come on
Yeah,
up. Yep.
come on up.
We will all move and get out of the way. Move to the back. I know what she was motioning us.
It's fine. How are you?
Yeah.
No, why?
It's not, it's not, it's not good fast, that we're mighty.
Call this meeting, the Haysville USD 261 to order. It's my pleasure to present the Freeman Falcons.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready? L-E-T-S-G-O, let's go, let's go. L-E-T-S-G-O, let's go.
That's it. We're talking about you, not this, okay? So what is this group of fine folks here?
First graders.
First grade, I mean, you all got a shirt on except, well, you're a little, but you're red, okay? Does that stand for something?
Freeman Falcons?
Freeman Falcons, are you not a special group at Freeman?
Just listen to Daniel.
Is that you?
Yes, they're in my class.
You guys want to introduce yourselves? We all know you're first graders.
My name's
Your name's what? What's your name? Zane? Maverick? What?
Riley.
Riley? Aiden? What? Lila? Laney? Lucy, or I remember that's from Snoopy, okay.
And Molly.
Melody? Emily? Well, I got it close to right. And your name?
Christian.
Christian, all right. I missed your name on the way by. Who was it? This kid over this one here. What was your name? Gideon, all right. Folks, did you get the pictures you needed? Let me get it back out of the way here. Thank you for being here tonight, guys. You got another couple, 3 days, and then you're off. What a deal, huh? Thank you.
We want to give it a shot.
Good. It's good. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Great job.
Good job. Good job.
Great job.
Good job.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Yes.
Still rolling.
All right, the thousands have left the building. So continue on here. First thing on the agenda is president's announcements. I have just a few. We have at our table a pinning ceremony for WSU Tech will be November 29th in room 808. The pinning ceremony for the kids that are graduating with their CNA degree,
Can you give that date one more time? I'm sorry.
November 29th,
Thank you.
8 a.m. and 9 a.m.
I want to
Two different ones for two different classes. This is National Educator Week, if I remember right. We passed that proclamation last month. And our FCLA teams were in Texas this last weekend, learning how to do barbecue. And apparently, it's my understanding that they were privileged enough to get an interview on one of the local TV stations. I've not seen the footage of it yet. I hope to see that, but I guess they learned a lot while they were down there, and that's why they went. And the last thing I've got is those of you that went to the ASB conference this weekend, input from anybody?
Yeah, it was great. It's my 4th or 5th year going. I really enjoy it. Some of the sessions I went to, the first one, I believe, was the rights of school board members. And we talked about our First Amendment rights and social media. And also we talked quite a bit about COMA and the Open Meetings Act. And they really wanted to reiterate how executive sessions are confidential. So that was the big takeaway from that meeting. I went to one about re-elections. It was all right. And then the delegation was good. The keynote speaker the first night was really, really good. And then the last session I went to was about Title IX, which was very interesting. And Jillian, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, same as you. They were great sessions, I thought.
Purchased a book from one of the breakout sessions that was called Fierce Conversations, which I thought would be really good. And it talks about having those hard conversations that you have to have. And so I was kind of excited about that. But I thought the keynote, the opener was really good, as we talked about the lighthouse effect and what that was. And I thought that was pretty inspiring. So it always sort of fills your cup up when you go to those things. So
Yeah. Anybody else input?
Excellent conference, and want to thank the board for taking the time to attend, and Jillian, she's visiting Debbie as well. I know, Debbie, if you want to share anything from the perspective of the board clerk, anything you might have picked up at the conference.
I did attend the conference that Jen just spoke about, and one on marketing school districts and crisis in the school district. They were all very good.
Oh, one more thing in the rights of school board members. Somebody had a question about what school equipment board members were allowed to use, and I told them to just ask their board clerk, and they didn't think that was a good idea. They must not know Ms. Coleman. She knows what we can do inside and out.
yes, indeed.
So thanks, Debbie, for being awesome.
Anybody have any other put? Our December meeting, remember, is now December 11th. And we'll meet at 5 p.m. early so that we can go to the school programs that our children are involved in some of the schools. So December 11th, again, early because of dismissal for holidays, and at 5 p.m. instead of the 7 p.m.
At 5:30.
Okay. Mr. Hirsch, you have anything?
Yes, I'll refer to Miss Theus to take care of our 2-6 Wonderful Awards tonight.
Always get the fun job of the evening. So first, I'd like to call forward Del Blaine with Blaine's Candy Store. Yeah. So Mr. Blaine is nominated by Adia Ludwig. Mr. Blaine has been a great supporter of the district since opening his shop. He is always willing to accept or participate in district events, whether it's opening a mini candy shop at the elementary school or donating certificates to stuff the bus. Mr. Blaine has taken his partnership to the district with a whole new level of sweetness. So thank you for all you do, Mr. Blaine.
Jillian, doesn't he have a partner in that someplace?
Yeah.
Miss Vicky.
Are you the Mrs. Blaine? We'd love. She says she's here to support.
Well, I know she has a lot to do with what he does in these activities with.
Absolutely. Thank you both. So next up, we have Tim and Brandon with Building Controls and Services. Yes, right behind me. Thank you. So these two gentlemen were nominated by Linda Long, who is not able to be here tonight. So I'm going to read that nomination. Building Controls contacted Linda Long because of their dedication to helping McKinney-Vento and other families in need in school districts. They were looking to expand into new districts in the area, and they thought of Haysville. They asked for a list of needs for the McKinney-Vento program, and additionally, if we had a family to nominate for holiday assistance. Within just a day or so, Mrs. Long emailed the list and spoke by phone with the staff at Building Controls, and the deliveries began coming. The amount of items we received was overwhelming and wonderful. This company went above and beyond to be certain every item on the program wish list and every item on the Christmas wish list for the families was purchased. They even sent wrapping paper and tape for us to wrap the families' gifts. This is the largest donation that we have ever received for a McKinney-Vento program since it opened. Oh, so thank you for that. Mr. Hirsch and Mr. Gibson, could we have you come up and take a picture with these gentlemen?
Very much.
Jen Reed is going to read our next nomination.
Can I have Jordan Gray and Miss Mary Bat? I have the pleasure of reading Jordan Gray's nomination. She was nominated by Mary Bat at Prairie Elementary for the 2-6 Wonderful Award. In the year and a half that Miss Gray has been in our district, she has made a huge impact on the students she works with. She is always willing to jump in and help whenever and wherever it's needed. Her work ethic is amazing, and Miss Bat appreciates all she does for the students and staff at Prairie Elementary. Jordan Gray.
And last but certainly not least this evening, I would like to have Susie Cochran and Brian Howard come to the front, please. The Haysville School District would like to recognize Susie Cochran and Brian Howard with a 2-6 Wonderful Award for their prompt response and actions in addressing a dangerous incident at Campus High School. Their immediate actions helped ensure the safety for all students and staff at Campus High School. In the face of a potentially dangerous situation, Ms. Cochran and Mr. Howard exhibited exemplary leadership and selflessness. Their ability to act swiftly and decisively reflects their commitment to the well-being of our school community. Such dedication to the safety of our students is truly commendable and sets a high standard for all administrators. We recognize that their actions not only required quick thinking, but also a deep sense of responsibility. The incident serves as a testament to the exceptional qualities of our assistant principals and the overall strength of our leadership team at Campus High School. Please convey our heartfelt appreciation to Ms. Cochran and Mr. Howard for their outstanding efforts. Their courage and commitment to the safety and welfare of our students and sources are an inspiration to us all. Please come up. Shortest.
So for the record, it's Shay's birthday today.
Happy
birthday. The board could sing while we wait, you know. Happy birthday
kids
to
left already.
you. Oh, birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. Appreciate that.
And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Couple of other items just want to make the board aware of. First of all, as a reminder, the district's education foundation's first fundraiser that we've hosted is going to be this Friday, the 17th, from 6 to 9:30, the Barn Bash, and it will be held at the Stockyards on MacArthur. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Norton if there's anything you want to share about it, but there's a lot of great things that have happened.
Well, we actually had to turn off the tickets on Friday because we are sold out. First of all, thank you to the community for stepping up on behalf. We were fortunate that between businesses and individuals, a table was bought for every school in the district so that teachers could come on the dime of the folks who care about you. We are going to have some fun. We're going to be playing Cow Patty Bingo. I'm pretty excited about
So excited.
I'm excited about Cow Patty Bingo. And we have a lot of other things to make this a fun, light time, but also know that we're here to raise money to support kids and teachers in the schools. So everybody who's coming, come in your jeans and your boots and be comfortable and know that it's going to be a wild ride. And like I said, this is the first time we've been, so who knows what's going to happen next year. But thank you so much to everybody who stepped up, because throwing a party for 250 people is quite a challenge.
And I want to,
My house shows it right.
I will point out that Susan and Tim have led this charge to ensure that we have a successful event. I want to extend the gratitude of the district for your hard work and all that you did and your husband did and that team to create a great event. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I will point out the Haysville Education Foundation's mission is raising community-based resources to invest in student learning and success by enhancing educational experiences and funding innovative practices in the classroom. Last year, they funded 13 teacher grants. This year, they will ask for those again. We've already had staff asking when we're going to do that, and the monies from this event will help fund those as well as student activities. So again, looking forward to the event. It'll be a lot of fun. Tom's already told you about the December 11th meeting. I want to just take this opportunity on our American Education Week. We know that it takes a team to educate 5,100 students. And I want to say thank you to our parents, our bus drivers, our nutrition service staff, paraprofessionals, school resource officers, security officers, SPED support staff, SPED staff, teachers, nurses, secretaries, maintenance and custodial staff, technology staff, administrative assistants, clerks, directors, administrators, and Board of Education members for everything that each one of you do to support students and student learning. And on behalf of American Education Week, thank you for all that you do. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. 1.5 Campus School Student Council report.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. There are a couple of things that I would like to discuss with you today. The first one I have is Powder Puff. So Powder Puff took place on November 7th, which was last Tuesday. It took place at the Colt Stadium. All grade levels participated. It was an event where girls play flag football and the boys are cheerleaders. This was a fundraiser for our winter wishes, which I will go more in depth later. The entrance to watch was $5 and for per person, adult or senior. More is always appreciated. We always had, especially last year, we always had a few families that would donate up to like $50, which we always appreciate. This year we raised around $2,800, which is around $800 more than we did last year. Placements, seniors took first, freshmen took second, juniors took third, and sophomores took fourth. This also goes well towards our Cody points. Our players had to donate, well, they had to pay a entrance fee of $15. So this $15 pays for them to be qualified to play, as well as their t-shirt that Colt branded, who will be talking with you guys later tonight. That all that money that went to the t-shirts went to our fundraiser as well for Winter Wishes. We had a great turnout and hundreds of people came to watch, and we are very excited to put it on next year. This brings me to my second topic, which I will be discussing Winter Wishes. As many of you know, Winter Wishes is a program on campus that helps students and staff in need during the holiday season. Student Council provides items such as coats, shoes, food, and other accessories. This event typically takes place between the week before Thanksgiving break and the week before Christmas break. A Google form is sent out. We sent one out this Monday, and we are taking responses until the 30th. The Google form contains who would you like to nominate, why you would like for them to be nominated, and what you would like for them to receive. It is completely anonymous. And isn't just for students at Campus High School, it's also for parents as well, staff, teachers. This year, 2 years ago, ever since COVID hit, we decided to do things differently. Instead of going out and buying personally these items, we decided to change to using gift cards, and we put ranging amounts depending. So if it's a coat, we might go 25 to 30. If it's a pair of shoes, 20 to 25. Another thing that we changed last year is that we decided to use holiday cards. So instead of putting them in plain envelopes, we wanted to spread cheer by using holiday cards that the Student Council designed. Something that we included last year is that we help parents at Campus High School who are students as well, or soon to be parents, so of any baby items that they may need as well. We have a few clubs and organizations at campus that also help and donate. So Link Crew has agreed to help and donate, and they're agreeing to donate around $500. And Stomping Grounds has agreed to donate as well. We've discussed that they are either going to have a special drink that goes towards the donations, or they were just going to give us money as well. And now for the last thing on my list, I have Cocoa Cream. This typically is going to take place December 6th and 7th during seminar. It is typically only for freshmen for them, but this year we have decided to open it to all grades. Cocoa Cram is typically where students get tutored by other students, especially those in Link Crew who take in their freshmen, and we tutor them over subjects that they may be struggling in for finals, whether that's math. Usually it's typically all of the core classes. While the students are there, they also typically get snacks and they drink hot cocoa to motivate them and make them feel welcomed. We typically partner with Haysville Garrett, and we plan on doing it this year as well. And we still are planning our last minute details, but we are sure that it is sure to be successful. Are there any questions?
Great job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
1-6, new and good.
Haysville Middle School PTO would like to give a big thank you to the community for coming out and sponsoring our students and staff through our turkey bingo and craft fair on Saturday night. We raised some good money that will go directly towards students and staff. So we were super excited. We had a great turnout. We had a lot of fun. So just wanted to give a brief thank you.
I would just like to congratulate Jen and the PTO for putting on the turkey bingo, because it was a lot of fun, even though I didn't win.
I made sure that was the case.
I think I got old cards.
You got old cards? We weren't using those.
Shouldn't appear to. Anybody else have anything new and good? Yes.
Tomorrow at 2:00 at the Hack, the president of the Haysville Education Foundation, the treasurer, and the executive director, that'd be me. We're fortunately going to be given a check for $1,000.
Wow.
From the Fall Festival Car Show.
Oh, nice.
It just so happened that during the Fall Festival, Josh Blick, who was running the car show, came over to our Fall Festival booth and said, what do you guys do here? So, knowing my husband, he started talking. And Josh said, that is a great organization. We're going to donate $1,000 to you. So that's going right into the kitty for more teacher grants and.
Yay to
Thank
Tim
you.
Norton for networking.
Way to go. Way to go,
Yay.
Tim. But that's exciting because $1,000 is a grant for
Yeah,
a teacher. So
absolutely.
that happens tomorrow. And thank Josh and the Haysville Fall Festival Car Show for that donation.
What time is that?
2:00
2:00.
at the Hack. I'm not sure where at the Hack, but at the Hack.
Anything else? Anyone? New and good? Very good. We'll approve or amend the agenda. Anybody have anything they'd like to change on the agenda? Amend? No?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Jeremy, a seconded by Miss Jennifer to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Yep. Okay, somebody's.
Yeah.
Sounds like. District patron and personnel. Uh-oh.
I put him up to the mic. We'll talk to him.
Can you hear me now? We had no one, Garrett Allen. Mr. Allen, are you here? 5 minutes, sir. Welcome. Wait.
Oh, yep. I gotta do the fill out the
You gotta
form.
take care of all the paperwork.
Go ahead. Hi, guys. Good evening. Hi. I'm coming to you as a concerned parent. On October 24th, there's an incident happened at K Campus High School, and I'm very grateful for the staff responding and keeping my child safe, everybody else's children safe. But as a combat veteran, my issue is the response times. I received a text from my child at 9:31 a.m. There was an incident going on. She was locked in her classroom. Okay. And then an email went out that I never received. I don't know, because the signal I have at my job at 10:22 about the secure lockdown. I never received it because I have low signal. Then a news article at KSN came out at 10:49 a.m. And then I received a text at 12:15 p.m. that day about an incident that happened at the high school. Now I realize there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of moving parts. As a flight deck veteran, I definitely understand that you have to head on a swivel. I understand that. But I also know it's not one person's job to do all of that. My issue is not with the staff. It's not with the teachers. It's with the policy and procedures. I'm just simply asking in the future, could we please send out a text message a lot sooner than 3 hours later about an incident? As mental health matters to the students, like it matters to the guardians and parents of those students. Mental health is very big now. People are acknowledging it. And I think it's very fair. That is my only issue with that evening or that day in school. And my suggestion, I know it's been some funding issues. I'm not sure what, this is my first time coming, get done about funding, about metal detectors. I know there's 70+ entrances into the high school. So that creates a lot of headache as well. I don't know if we're even able to cut those down in half. I don't know what kind of logistical headache that causes for the staff. But if in the concerns of safety, that's far too many entrances. I work at the biggest employer in Wichita. We don't have that many entrances to the big building that I work in. So, and also, I don't understand what else can be done, but maybe just send a text out a lot faster, because I'm wondering what's going on, why I'm at work. It created a lot of extra stress that I didn't need. As a veteran who suffers from PTSD, I didn't need that. Those 3 hours felt like an eternity, because I need to hear from an adult that everything is okay, not from my child, because a school district who takes every threat seriously, and you guys should, thank you very much. We all know how rumors spread and everything can snowball. I don't know the information my child's getting is accurate at all. I have no idea. The first time I heard from an adult from this district was at 12:15, and that is my issue, guys. Simply put, please let the parents know sooner. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take your thoughts under consideration. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board?
Yes, there is.
You'll have 2 minutes for your comments, please, sir. Yep.
My name is Christopher Schaefer. My was a student at Campus High School before the other incident happened. But I have an issue with the how threats are handled at the school. My daughter has another student that was stalking her, followed her around, harassed her at school, and the school's only solution for it was to transfer my daughter to another school. She did not want to go to the other school, but was not given any option. Was told this is what's going to happen.
Sir?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry to interrupt you. I think this discussion would be better had an executive session
Yeah,
to
it's worth-
protect the
Protect the
child.
student.
I think this is a student issue, so we can continue, sir, but we'll just do it in another room where it's just you, and that way your child's dignity is protected.
I don't hide anything from her. She knows everything.
Well, I know that, but I don't want that for your daughter. So if that's okay, sir, we'll go into my office. Is that?
Yep.
Yes, I think that would be the best. Yes, that would be best. And I would say we'll give him time in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it needs to be addressed.
If you want to come back, sir, we can most certainly.
You need to make a motion.
Yes.
Yeah, motion.
Yep.
How much time do you?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion. We go into executive session for 5 minutes
For
to-
student matters.
for student matter.
Yeah, to include, what's your name, sir?
Christopher
Schaefer.
Christopher Schaefer and his daughter.
And Mary.
And to have Christopher Schaefer, Marianne Schaefer, and Mr. Hirsch with us in executive session.
I second that.
Motion by Ms. Susan, seconded by Ms. Jennifer. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 5 minutes.
What did I miss something?
No, I didn't pull my chair out.
Oh, well,
Knock me down.
well, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. They don't have any flavor though. It's just.
What are they? Are they like sweet tarts or are they like mints?
We have returned it. Don't buy any
Sugar. Like nothing.
Are there any other things?
It's like
Kinda, yeah.
All right. 3.0 consent agenda. Anything like to be changed on the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Make a comment around my Tic Tacs. Gotta say thank you first. Yes, I would like to always thank folks who have spent time for gifts and grants, giving things to the kids of the district. We appreciate it. I'm sorry about the, including Angel.
That's okay. Was that a second?
Yeah, second. Sorry.
I got a motion by Mr. Jeremy, and a second by Miss Susan to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Yep. 4.0 treasurer's report. Greg?
Yep, all the bills are paid. I did want to come back to, we bought the small bus. And I wanted to come back to a question on what goes with our equipment that ages out and all of that. We have to, by law, put it on Purple Wave, and on Purple Wave, that's where they buy and sell throughout in different places and all of that. So I just wanted to make sure I came back to that question from last time on that. But otherwise, all bills are paid, all staff are paid. I think we're.
Do you know why they use Purple Wave specifically? Is that what all districts?
It's all this, yeah,
That's
all
the Purple
districts use
Wave.
that Purple Wave too.
Is that what? it is?
Yeah, so.
So that's a
Wait.
law. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't, I found that out myself too.
Yeah.
Want to see if we could buy a bus.
I'll move to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
Oh,
I got a motion by Miss Susan, and a second by Miss Kelly to approve the treasurer's report as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. 5.0 reports. Oh, Brandon? By the way, thank you for the shirts tonight.
very
Thank
nice.
you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marissa and I'm Savannah. And tonight we are representing Colt Branded. Here we have a commercial showing everything that we do in Colt Branded. I'm not sure how it works. We lost it.
Technical
So Colt Branded was created in spring 2019 and our first class was fall of 2019. And since then we've had 128 students take Colt Branded as a class. In 2019, we took a loan of $30,000 and so far we've paid back $10,000. Our final payment is projected to be fall of 2027 or even sooner. So some of our goals that we have for Colt Branded is to learn a trade that is always in need of employees. We also want to create a resource for district entities like sports and clubs to save money and create a better profit margin for fundraising. Mr. Mars chooses all of the students by looking at attendance, grades, and then previous classes taken, including business classes and shop classes. Any student interested in taking Colt branded will be looked at and most likely offered the opportunity. So some ways our students are rewarded are multiple holiday dinners. We also have Colt branded shirts, hoodies, and sweatshirts. We also have field trips for local print shops. And once we've paid off the loan, seniors in their second year of Colt branded will have scholarship opportunities. Here we have some photos of behind the scenes in Colt branded. On the left, we have some students applying ink to t-shirts on what we call the merry-go-round. The top image is shirts being put into the heater to dry the ink, and the bottom image is an image being burned into a screen. And then during second semester, Mr. Mars will be teaching us how to fill orders out as well. Here we have our spending over the last school year. As you can see, a majority of our expenses goes towards S&S, where we buy all of our t-shirts from. And I won't get into every single thing, but we did have around $2,100 left over to kickstart us for this school year. So here we have compared our prices to a local print shop in Wichita. You can see our prices are much lower, which is because we pay our employees with experience, and we also have a much lower overhead. So this is a price breakdown for a shirt that only uses one color of ink. The shirt itself costs $2.80. The ink per shirt costs 5 cents, and then we also charge 10 cents per shirt for screen emulsion and supplies. So overall, $2.95 per shirt. And then for donations, last year we were honoring original field day shirts for Rex. We made HMS PTO bags, HMS tennis shirts, CHS security shirts, and we are sponsors for HW yearbook and CHS basketball. So far this year, we have donated the HMS tennis shirts and CHS powder puff shirt, which went all towards Winter Wishes. And are there any questions?
I just want to say thank you. You guys did excellent. So I run the HMS PTO and you guys did our bags last year. And we so appreciate the donation because we were just starting and we didn't have a lot of money either. And you guys, they were great. Our 8th graders loved them. They were carrying around. We still had kids carrying them around trick-or-treating this year with those bags. So they loved them. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much for them.
Thank you. I have a question. Would each of you tell us what's your favorite thing about being in Colt branded? Like about it?
I love the teachers. They're very positive people and they're very fun to talk to. And they just make the class better, honestly. Yeah. So shout out to Mr. Mars.
Yay, Mr. Jones.
A quick question. Can you go back a couple of slides to where you were right there? What is emulsion? Can you explain that process? I'm not.
So the emulsion part is what you have to coat the screen with to burn it. And then emulsion gets, I say, washed off. After we're done using the screen, we'll take it, we'll clean it, and then we can use that screen over and over again.
Gotcha.
So that's the part that makes the print.
Gotcha.
Burns the image into the
So that's
screen.
the cost for you to make one shirt is $2.95. What are you gonna charge me again?
For a shirt with one color, it would be $7.45.
Okay, that's great.
I have about 5 friends who own their own screen printing shops, and they all started when they were in high school printing punk rock patches and t-shirts. And they made that into a lucrative career for themselves that I'm sure if they had a class like this in high school, they'd be doing even better.
I know someone that makes shirts currently. He's still in high school and he makes a lot of money off of that too.
That's awesome.
On the shirts that you made for us, is the process that you use for the stitching on this? Can you kind of talk a little bit about what that looks like compared to the other process you just described?
Yeah, so these ladies are I have 2 different shops. So I have a couple students in the embroidery part of it, Those students are allergic to latex or allergic to some of the stuff that we use. So I've kind of moved them over to working with embroidery. So the process is it's kind of the same. You come up with a digital design. And I have a program that you call it digitization, where you take an image and turn it into stitches. So I have a program that does that. If I can't do it, I can send it off and get it done for me. And then we put it into our embroidery machine, get everything set up, hit the enter button, and it pick the colors. It kind of goes to town, and cross your fingers, hopefully it turns out.
And you have to switch them every shirt on your embroidery machine too?
No,
So it just sets it up and goes.
right. So I have it's on an XY axis, so it holds the shirt, and then it goes back and moves it around.
Oh.
And on my embroidery machine, I believe I have 12 colors, 14 colors that I can program in for. I mean, I can have 14 colors in an embroidery. So
That's cool.
It's like that. If you put like for this shirt, for instance, sorry. If you guys have ever cross stitched before, you put like a cross stitch ring on it and
yeah.
then you load it into the machine.
Yeah.
And then you start it and it stays within that ring.
Little side help from the new board member.
An obvious question here. You told us that the t-shirts would cost us $7.45. If we went to polo shirts, what would those cost us embroidered?
So in the embroidery is totally different, and we have a lot of different ways to do things. So that is based off per thousand thread, per thousand stitch, is how that's.
So as an example, what would these cost?
So that would cost probably around $5
plus the shirt,
$5 to $7 plus the shirt to have embroidered.
Very good.
I just want to say this is a fantastic program. I personally know my daughter was part of the program. She graduated in 2020. This program has by far paid for itself. She received scholarships based off the fact that she had experience with Colt Branded.
Awesome.
She has received job offers because Colt Branded is on her resume. Even as a kid who's still in college, she's a senior at WSU this year, and it has been something that she will be forever grateful that she was a part of. So big props to you guys. And she also loves Mr. Mars. So.
Mr. Mars, 2 questions. Is your equipment holding up?
Yes.
Okay, so not in need of additional loan or whatever.
No, it just additional loan would be for more equipment. There's some awesome stuff out there that is kind of the next step up, but we're going to get this through this and let that technology come down in price, hopefully quite a bit before we take that next step.
The second part is I took a tour one time, and he also is involved, Mr. Mars, with woodworking. They also do donations or woodworking projects. So that's another. It's not. I don't think that's part of Colt Branded.
That is not, but I mean, since you brought it up, we are right in the middle.
You're welcome.
We are right in the middle of Toys for Tots.
Yes.
So
What are you making this year?
this year we are making biplanes.
Awesome.
Okay.
So we are. I had the students count. We are 515 bodies made. We're in the process of cutting wings out on the laser. And then it's going to be putting them all together. And
When do you have to have it done?
my goal is the second week in December.
Second week in December.
I would love to take my kids a day to Toys for Tots.
Yeah.
And spend that day organizing, giving out whatever they need us to do. We have not done that yet. I think this is toy 8. So this year my kids are busting it to get those done, and they're doing a really, really good job.
If you ever make one of those cool resin coffee tables that you want to donate to
Just
somebody,
something
it's not Norton, it's me.
There's one at the barn bash.
That's gonna be expensive.
There are gonna be 2 there.
Oh, there's 2?
One's gonna be a river table, one's gonna be infused. So
Guess I better get my pen ready.
And there's a cutting board, correct?
there's at least 1 cutting board. If I can squeeze another one finished up
We
this
will
week, it'll
take
be 2.
Whatever you want to get us. Thank you so much.
Including Colt Branded apparel. Right.
I'm thinking there's some
Right.
that's been donated. Yes,
Okay.
there's
So do you
Who's
guys
the
take
club
orders
owner?
from outside of the district or do you simply make for in district?
So that's a good question. We, really, anybody, I have a couple businesses that, they go through me, and we do their orders. A really awesome business that we use, is US Logo. Anything we can't do, they can do, and they do it at a really good price for us. They're kind of, all of our beginning stuff, such as, some of the booster club for campus, we just can't do right at the beginning. Our kids are still learning the process.
Right.
I've learned my lesson a couple times over, and we send that to US Logo. Some really big multicolor orders. We'll go up to about a 2-color, is about all we'll handle, maybe a 3-color, but anything over that, it's better if we send it off, because it's a lot of, the kids do a great job. It's just a little much for us.
On multiple colors, do you take the shirt off each time and move it, or does it spin around?
No,
I don't remember the,
Yeah,
I don't remember the facility.
It
so
spins around.
okay.
So, right, it's on the left. We have a 6 station, so 6 platens, which are what you put the shirt on. We have 6 heads, which is where you can put the screens on. So we can do up to a 6-color.
So
Students, do either one of you plan to continue this once you're done with the class? Is this something that interests you, maybe helps you get through college or whatever the next step is?
Not personally for me, no. Me either.
I think it would be interesting. I know that the board took a tour years ago. We got to go tour print shop and got to watch that stuff was being made. Maybe we can do that again sometime, because I think it's a really cool process for people who haven't had a chance to get to see it, and you got some really neat equipment. So
it's just very unique for this area to have something.
Absolutely.
like
I mean, all
this
of our
available to
school-based
our students.
businesses is
So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
But also a big thank you, because I did, because it was PTO money, I had to go out and quote this before we knew that it would be donated. And they beat everybody by a long shot when it came to pricing. So they really are just trying to do experience for their kids and things. So
That's all. And Andrew Landreth, one of my students, is actually going to go into this when he graduates.
Awesome.
His mom's back here, so she's like, hey. So, and he's talked to me multiple times, like, hey, I want to do this. We have US Logo will take anybody I have. They'll give them a shot. I had a student a couple years ago that went to work for him during high school, worked for him after high school, and he's invited back to go work whenever he wants to with them. He's right now getting ready to leave for boot camp, I believe, here in January. So life's taking him in different areas, but he can always go back. He has the skills. So
You guys do a great job up there in the printing, so thank you for what you do. And girls, congratulations on graduating this year. Is that right?
Next year. Yeah, next year.
Okay, I still got one to go, okay? Don't mess it up now. You're
all right. The
close.
board can
We
just
have a lot more shirts to make to order.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next item in reports, ASA. Mr. Craig?
All right. Okay, I was asked a few months ago to give a report on ASA strategic funding. So this is a review. I've done some research on this, and hopefully I have some answers for you to give kind of a background of what ASA strategic funding is. First and foremost, we had the agreement done back in June of 2015. So we've had it for a few years, but this is the company that goes out and finds funding from local businesses, and they partner with the district, and they will purchase a sign, and they'll put it out on at the football field, and all of these things. We are a 50-50 partner with ASA Strategic Funds. so on here, I just put a little kind of blurb from the agreement, just to kind of show you, there's a couple things on here to point out. Number one was the 50-50 share. The other part of it is that they oversee replacement of damaged or missing signs. But we have to request or notify them of anything like that on our side. So if you see any signs or anything like that that need to be refurbished or anything, we can take a look at it. And then also, I believe in the agreement, if we ever wanted to end the agreement, it's a 60-day. It's doesn't take a lot on that side, but between January and December of 2022, just to give you a year snippet, this is in front of you as well. I kind of gave you guys a copy of it as well. This is the amount of money, the revenue that we brought in for a 1-year time frame. And you can see at the bottom, we totaled up at about $6,700. That's a typical year. That's
Where does that money go? In a gray hole someplace?
It goes over to campus. Campus has activity funds over there, and that money, that revenue goes into
For campus to use as they see fit.
right as the athletic director sees fit.
Thank you. Does it go into booster specifically and then that comes out?
It does not go
Okay,
into the
so it goes
boosters.
directly into AD.
Yep, it's outside of the boosters.
Okay.
Reach. On here as well, I put 2023 just to give you a recent picture. It's not as pretty as the other rundown, but you can kind of see which companies are currently giving money. It looks like F. Hummel Agency. And I believe there's Doug's Auto on there as well for this last year. But I believe those are the two organizations that are giving money. And I think they have a contract that they've spread out over so many years that each month they just give a certain amount towards that contract. And then our totals from 2015 to current, the total money raised was $119,000. The cost of the signs, we split that cost. So right away, like if it's $1,000 donation, the sign cost $100. We take $50 of that sign. They take $50 of that sign. And then there's $900 left, which means that we take $450 on our side. They take $450. So it's split right down the middle. We have raised $54,000 since 2015. And again, that's a rough, I believe the average is between 7,000 and 8,000, depending on the year and how many payments were made for that year. The last thing is I did reach out to the high school and discuss this strategic funding ASA with them. The Booster Club has reached out to them about the possibility of maybe taking over some of these responsibilities. But again, we're very infant stages of those conversations on that side, but they have shown some interest in possibly taking that piece over. Any questions you have?
So how much are we paying ASA?
50% of every donation that comes in. So let's say if the auto shop gives $1,000, they keep half, we keep half.
So, and sign replacements, are we paying for sign replacements or are they doing that?
So they are supposed to cover those costs as to that agreement that is on here. However, we have to notify them if those signs need to be replaced.
My question is, if the two vendors we have are Doug's and Forrest Hummel, why do we need the ASA to go talk to them? I think we could do that on our own.
Sure.
Of this list of donors,
Mhm.
how many of these are new that have been brought in because ASA went out and searched up new donations for us? Do we have any idea?
I only know what is listed on there. I gave the whole from the inception from 2015 to now. And earlier in the contract or the agreement, it looked like we had multiple businesses, and it looks like we're maybe down to 2 now.
Yeah. As far as like bringing in new. So, because I'm assuming like some of these were probably already donating to this to begin with when ASA came on board in 2015.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, are they going out? Are they hitting the pavement looking for new donations for us at all, or are they just taking
I
half
can-
of everything that renews every
I'll
year.
give you some input on that. When they first came in, they came in, Greg was here, Greg and I were the only two that were left here. They kind of came in with smoke and mirrors and promised us that they were gonna sell all these customers, they were going to get car dealership to sponsor here and all this stuff, and none of that ever really happened. I think over the years, since it started in 15, I think we've seen one person in the building.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this is really worthwhile when we're giving them
Feels
half
like
of the
Yeah,
donation.
I don't understand why we're giving half
A
of our money
private
away.
connection. So I feel like our own staff and board and students could probably have better connections.
And to give the board a little history, when I came on, probably the first year, Tom asked me at that point if we would bring something to the board to update the board on ASA.
Mhm.
Dr. Schutte was obviously in and out of that. And then when we made a change, Steve didn't know much about it and had other priorities. So Craig, when he started this year, asked him to bring this, and our purpose tonight is an awareness level to make you aware if it's the will of the board for us to explore doing this internally, whether that through the booster club or some other alternative. You advise and we'll move forward. It's simply what we want to do tonight is make you aware because not sure, going back to Tom's point, how many of you even knew we had this? So I want to make sure that you're aware, and that was our intent tonight. So if you have a desire for us to go in a different direction,
I wouldn't.
we will most certainly explore.
I do have a question. If you guys take a look at page 8. Haysville Family Eye Care. Yeah. Which would be Cody Haas and Garden Plains are both in 22. We're in year 2 of a 5-year contract. Who is that 5-year contract with? Is that with ASA and can we break it? Or is that 5-year contract with the district? That would be my very first question. That's with ASA. So we got it. So, and can we get out of that ASA contract?
We can have John most certainly review the contract and advise on steps if that's the wish of the board. Absolutely.
I don't know. Anybody here? You talked to Booster Club, right?
I'm here from the Booster Club.
Okay, I see 2 hands back there, back there in the dark tape.
You're actually on the board, right? I am. Yeah. I'm the vice president of the Booster Club. Yeah.
Do you think that the Booster Club would be capable of taking this on and have as good, if not better, results with it?
100%. I have already got quotes for signage replacement because one of our fears when I was talking to Mr. Allen about it was that ASA would take the signs and we would have to then get signs made in a hurry to fulfill our contractual agreement with the 2 sponsors that we have left under ASA. But I have all those quotes ready to go. So I'm ready if the board chooses to make this decision in the future.
Is our print shop capable of making those?
I don't know the answer to that question. We'd have to.
I'd be able to screen
Not
print,
that size.
print vinyl
So
signs, but
only
not.
2 of these out of all of these are actually under ASA contract. The rest of these, no matter what, would still remain us.
Right. And just to bring you guys more clarity, in the years that I've been here, they've brought no one new to the table and Mr. Haas and Forrest Hummel and what was the other one? Doug's Auto also give to the Booster Club directly. So they're actually donating twice.
Yeah.
And I think that personally, if I was Doug or if I was Forrest and I knew that ASA was getting half the money and that whole $1,000 check wasn't going directly to the athletic department, I would be mad. So I think they would be more apt to give to our kids and probably give more to our kids in our booster club if it was
100%.
somebody like myself or Jeremy or Jennifer, whoever going out and having that connection. Cody Haas and I went to school together. Like it's those personal connections that make people build the community to build these funds for these kids.
Tasha, have you guys had any conversation about these contracts, these 5-year contracts? Do you?
Other
know
than
where
what,
that sits?
other than what I brought up when Mr. Hirsch came on, because I had went to our old AD when Scheifler was here and I said, look, I'm not happy with this, and so then that kind of started the ball rolling with Mr. Hirsch, but I have not seen any of the verbiage of the contracts or what would happen. I'm hoping that Mr. Ryan can get us some information on what's going to happen. Do the signs stay with us? Because in my personal experience with the Saddle Club, the sponsors actually paid for those signs. So they're actually the sponsor signs.
Right.
Not particularly ISAs, but I don't know how the contract's written. So
Would we need a motion to have you?
No.
Okay.
So basically, if it's the will of the board that we explore an alternative way to do this, all you need to do is advise us and we will do so.
Well, certainly to look at the contract and sort of.
We can have John review the
Yeah,
contract and see
start the
what
ball rolling, I
it takes
think.
to get out of it, and then if bring back a report next month and let you know what we find, and if that's the will of the board, we can do it.
Who was gonna review
Yes,
the contract?
Our attorney, John.
John.
Okay, John. How soon would the Booster Club be available to take this over?
tomorrow.
I mean, it's been this for years.
If you want me to do it tomorrow, I've already got the pricing for banner signs and the package. The packages that we would present to sponsors. I would like, and that's the other thing that I don't know on this contract that I need clarity on is those contracts with those sponsors, is that school year? Or is it a calendar year? Like, is it something that I need to have a renewal letter ready to send to these sponsors or go hand deliver to these sponsors for 2024?
There's some things you still need.
I need to
Got
know.
the motor
Yeah.
started, but it's not ready to run.
Mhm.
Gotta go.
Okay, thank you.
Fiscal year.
We'll bring this back as an action item possibly next month then.
Okay.
We will have our attorney review it and advise, and we'll bring it back next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Sasha.
Debbie, can you add that to the December? Or for sure January, but depending on how long December gets. So let's do January. I don't want to keep you here till 7 on that day.
Action items. 6.1 KASB policy updates.
It wasn't as bad as I thought.
No, they're not. They're not.
So I was like, okay. Thank you for answering that question.
Law changing.
Thank you for answering that question that I had on self-enclosure.
IFCC overnight accommodations. At the conference this weekend, this came up in Title IX, and this likely violates Title IX. However, the state is requiring us to adopt this policy. I would just ask that accommodations be made for any student that needs separate accommodations.
So Jeremy, a couple of thoughts. One, right now, if a student, for instance, suffered from depression and they couldn't share a room with somebody, we would make an accommodation for that child. If a child had a medical condition that required that child to have a separate accommodation, the district's going to do what's best in that situation for the child and try to accommodate them. So most certainly that happens and has happened, and I don't see any reason why we can't continue to do that.
Are you asking for something to be written in as part of that policy?
Speak up, I couldn't hear you.
I asked if he was asking for something to be written in as that policy
I would-
versus an adoption of that particular policy.
I would feel better if something was written, but as I understand, I think we're waiting to hear back from our attorney.
I have our legal counsel reviewing it based on questions I've received, so my recommendation would be, because we do need to adopt by law, you have to adopt it. My recommendation is adopted, and I can bring back once John advises. I sent this to him 2 weeks ago and he just hadn't got back to us yet. So most certainly can bring an amended policy back if we need to do that. Unless the board wishes to pull it.
I think it would be ready by December.
Potentially.
Is there any problem with delaying this?
We've delayed it this long. I mean, one more month isn't gonna make or break it.
Yeah,
So
yes.
When does it have to be adopted by the end of the year?
should have been adopted in July,
Oh, but we were still going through
but we were going through. So
our other
again,
ones when they wrote the new
it's
ones.
an updated policy, and it's all based on the last legislative session in regards to the laws that were passed. And so all those June, that's why all the June policies are there. Typically, anything that was changed in the legislative session is updated at that point. So
So if we don't adopt it locally, in effect, it becomes our policy anyway.
well, you have to have an adopted policy.
If we
A
don't adopt,
policy that KSB has presented meets the requirements of the law. Our
So-
current policy may not meet the requirements of the law. That's the difference.
Well,
If we
I guess
don't-
what I'm saying, the state legislature, KSB trumps our local authority. If they say we have to abide by this policy, it trumps whether we act on it or not.
I think their advice, I'd have to go back and pull it up. Let me see what it said on here. I believe their policy recommendation was adopted because it's required by law. Let me pull it up and see.
And then amended if we so choose.
I don't know
I
about
think
that.
you'd still have to be.
Review and
careful.
adopt to promote compliance with state law effective July 1 of 23. It says the law requires the board to adopt a policy.
We're just making a caveat.
So
for
it is
different
required by
accommodations
law
for
to
students.
adopt a policy.
And to put it in our policy manual.
So my recommendation again would be based on timing, I would go ahead and if the board is comfortable with, adopt it. And then once our attorney provides guidance, we can always bring that back for an amended policy. I don't know if it would need to go 2 months unless there was extensive language change, and I don't anticipate that. My experience with John is KSB policies are written to be in compliance with the law.
Right.
He advises you follow the law and do what the law says, and that's what we would be doing. So if the board wishes to add a statement about appropriate overnight accommodations can be made as deemed necessary to the current policy, we can add that and adopt it tonight. You can leave it the way it is and move forward tonight. Or you can wait till the attorney advises.
I think we probably ought to go ahead and approve it and we can change it as the attorney sees fit. My personal opinion.
I'd move that we adopt KSB policy update 6.1. That's what I'd move.
You made a motion.
Motion, yeah.
Nice.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Gregg, seconded by Ms. Kelly to approve KSB policy update as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I'm gonna put that on future calendar.
I have like I said, I sent John the information a couple of weeks ago. As soon as I have the response, I'll send it to the board. And then we can bring it back next month after we meet with board leadership, if that's what they advise. Or January.
Hey, Jeremy, what particular section or which one?
IFCC overnight accommodations.
Say IFCC?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 6.2 Assistant Director for Food Services.
Absolutely. So Craig and I are just bringing this back to you. We've reviewed this with you last month, so we're asking for approval to go ahead and open this position and attempt to fill it as soon as possible. And just to reiterate, I'll have Craig explain again where the funding for this position comes from.
Yeah, so this position comes from our food services fund. And we have a fairly good amount of money within our food services because of what Gina Lee has done and been frugal with her spending and all of that. We have about $3.4 million that rolls over into that account. And we can only spend it on food service things. We can spend it on the kitchen, we can spend it on the food service staff, but it cannot be spent anywhere else. We can't fix a building with it. We can't hire paras for a classroom or anything like that. It can only go to food service. So we have enough money in that account to make this hire.
Do you have any questions for us?
I still just have concerns that her position requires a degree and that this position is almost a stepping stone to hers, but it doesn't. That being a disconnect there on growth or being able to fill her position.
So what we did put in there, it does say bachelor's degree preferred. So we are looking for someone that meets the qualifications to become her, should she retire at some point. But we don't know until we open the position if that's going to be possible to get filled. So our first priority will be someone who is certified, similar to Gina, that can train and transition into that role. That will be our priority.
State requirement that it be.
That is a state requirement that they have that degree and that training.
It's based on the size of your district, and as a 6A district, you're required to have somebody who has a nutrition services degree.
And how popular is that?
Super.
I mean,
It's not gonna be easy to find someone.
right,
That will work
Right.
for that pay.
Exactly.
With
With a
that
degree.
right.
Probably will have to hire someone that's not got the degree.
And
Knowing
work up
that
to
when
it.
she retires, we're gonna have to find somebody else. Or this person's gonna say, I love this job. I'm gonna stay here the rest of my working career and get the education themselves. But in the beginning, I don't think that we're gonna find somebody. We all can pay on that.
60. You're not gonna find
60?
probably somebody with a degree.
Right.
that's
If,
willing to
if
do-
it's a degree person's, $60,000. If it's not someone who has a degree, they would go on the classified rate of pay scale.
So.
Just from being in the industry, I think you're gonna really struggle to find somebody at that pay rate with that degree to do
Absolutely
that.
agree
So.
with that. That's why we are going to be very clear, whomever we hires understands that this is not a stepping stone to becoming the director. You would have to meet the requirements, apply, and be the best candidate to be chosen. So I will tell you as a 6-8 district, Gina's position, and she won't be here forever, and she's very, very good at what she does. I think you will have applicants for that position. Now, whether we can pay them what we currently pay, I don't know the answer to that question, but that's a tough position to fill. There are a lot of regulations that they have to work through, federal and state regulations. And part of this position is to take a lot of that off the plate of Gina so that she can focus on what she needs to do. A lot of it's been dumped on her through DCF and the verifications that have to be done. Through free and reduced now that we're not there pre-COVID. And so again, we don't know where this will end up, but we're going to advertise it, see where it is. And if we can't hire a agreed person, that person will understand if you choose to be considered for that position, you will have to have a degree before you apply.
Did they have a parent teaching type degree where you can
Well, they didn't say
work
that.
it and be getting the education at the same time?
Know the answer.
I do know that there's several other positions for food service directors in this area that are gonna be open, so. It's gonna be even tougher to fill that position.
Right now focused on the assistant position.
Right.
We'll advertise it under both scenarios and see what
Right.
happens.
She certainly needs the help, even regardless on whether or not that's a stepping stone for her position. I mean,
Yes.
the woman works sun up to sundown every single day of the year, so.
And I think that's what you have to look at. This is not hiring Gina's replacement. That's not the purpose.
There's a
of this position.
potential, but that's not.
But
the
that's not
purpose.
why we're doing it.
Right.
What is the board's wishes?
I
I'll make a
move or
motion.
make a motion, we approve the job
Comments?
description of Assistant Director of Food Service.
Second.
Oh, wow.
I got a motion by Mr. Gregg, a second by Mr. Jeremy.
You've earned it.
To approve the Assistant Director for Food Service. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Click away, Greg.
Thank you.
We have no first readings tonight. Wow.
That's nice.
Discussion report. Session report items, what? Future agenda items. There we go. I'm trying to get there.
There we go. Okay, in December, we'll have the strategic plan. We will have policy JBCC brought back for action. And then in January, we will have K5 principles, the impact of the new assistant principals. And that will also be, it's twofold, it'll be in January and May. We'll have the ASA follow-up in January, school-based health clinic update in January, and in the future, we don't know the date yet, but we'll have an audit report.
I will tell you tomorrow, if you get a chance to watch the state board meeting, there will be some good news about Haysville. So that will come on tomorrow. So it's really excited and have some really good news to share. Can't do it yet, but.
Did we win the lottery?
That was it.
I take that as a.
Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Debbie on the
How do you watch it?
strategic plan.
I can send the link.
Yeah, send
Just
us a link,
I will.
please.
Oh, wait.
What time do we know?
I'll look and see. I think it starts at 9, but I'll have to look.
Mr. Finster? Yes.
Sorry.
Strategic plan, review parts of it or that it's on there, but what it's specifically,
As we stated, Greg, when you approve the strategic plan, we will bring by semester progress towards goals, how we're progressing towards meeting the strategic plan. So this semester, we will report on student engagement, first bullet, under student engagement. curriculum and instruction, and Jen will bring that, update you on how we've met that so far. Then next semester, we will bring retention, attraction of staff. And we're just going to go in order each semester and bring you an update.
Okay, so it'd be a report.
Yep.
And with questions and.
Yep.
Possibly action, but maybe not.
No action necessary, but would just be a report on how we're progressing.
Well, if Jen is reporting, I'll give
No
her some.
questions, no action.
Thanks, Debbie. Thank you for the answer.
9.0 executive session. We need to have two of them tonight. I'll make a motion to have an executive session for 20 minutes for non-elected personnel. Protect the privacy and interests of identifiable individuals with Mr. Jeff and Miss Jillian for 20 minutes.
Also, Ms. Lightcap.
Miss Lightcap and Miss Angie.
And we'll ask for Angie to come in after.
Oh, goodness.
Miss Lightcap is done.
We're gonna bring her in first.
Yes.
Hey, you lucky dog.
5 minutes. 3 minutes.
Let's pass this first.
Okay.
I got a motion. Who's gonna second it?
Second,
Thank you.
did it.
I made the motion. Nobody seconded. You got it in the books.
She won.
To take a 20-minute executive session. All in favor? Opposed? We'd like to take a 5-minute break before we start that though. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right, consider it done.
8:27 start time.
All right, I'm not parents. It's like, we're not pulling over. Just like, we're going in. Get this done.
He's gonna make it hard.
After the last time I got.
Make a motion to go back into executive session for 5 minutes.
Second.
Oh, is it back on? Okay, good.
I got a motion by Mr. Jeremy and seconded by Miss Jennifer to go back into executive session for a big 5 minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. See you in 5.
Talk about it.
Oh,
No.
Courtney's just doing stuff.
I was like, hey, just circling back around to see if I got.
You want that Bitcoin or something?
Cash money, cheddar.
Did somebody turn this on? We have returned again from executive session. We'd like to go back for another 5 minutes.
Just the board.
Just the
correct?
board, that's correct.
Second.
We motion in a second to go back into executive session for 5 minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? See you in 5.
So there were seven.
But other than that, she's been up there every day.
We can work any hallway in the country. All the
You
children.
realize that there's a level in the world that I have no idea what it is. Yeah, I don't have a clue. Yeah. All right, what are we doing now?
Right. We only need 15 minutes for negotiations.
Oh,
You think?
like an hour.
Unless you guys have a lot of questions.
Oh,
15.
No.
Our part will take 5.
Okay, we're back on. All right, we're back from executive session. We're going to go back into executive session.
Need to say no binding.
No binding decisions were made.
There you go.
We can do that at the end, because we're doing lots of negotiations here. Negotiation matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the body or the agency. This be a 20-minute executive session.
Second.
Include Mr. Jillian, Mr. Craig, and Mr. Jeff. Now you want a second?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Happy New Year.
What?
On that note, have a
He said happy New Year.
Oh.
You're doing the best job. Which is a good. Did you get a t-shirt?
I did.
Okay, well, good.
Very excited.
That's all I can do.
T-shirt. Upgraded.
Internally though, everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we have returned from executive session and no binding decisions were being made. We are adjourned.
Thanks for your work tonight.
Any word on DJ?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
last-
Wait a minute.
Well, maybe we'll shut this off.